With just a pair of races remaining in the 2025 season, we go north of the border for our only race outside of the U.S. here for the Fuel Grand National Series. A pleasant good evening to everybody tuning into tonight's coverage. The Fuel Grand National Series live from Autodrome St-Felicien in St-Felicien, Quebec. It's the NAPA AutoPro Fall Classic. Hi, hello, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are here at one of the kookiest raceways that you will ever see here in all of NR2003 online, live on the North American Sim Racing Network. My name is Trey Wright, joined alongside, once again, by Caleb Rose. And Caleb, you and I were talking about it going into right before we went live here on YouTube. This is quite an interesting track here for St-Felicien.
know, but just everything is wrong. And I think it definitely should produce some very, very interesting racing here tonight. Should be a very fun one here at St-Felicien here tonight. And can't wait to see how this race plays out. Like I said, it'll definitely be a very interesting one.
It's going to be probably one of the more interesting races that we see all season long. If it's got a guy like Zach Rogers, more on him there in a minute, but if it's got a guy like Zach Rogers a little bit concerned about self-spinning out here, you know that this is going to be a very interesting race here tonight, as Rogers coming in as the championship favorite. He has a chance to lock up the championship one race early before we go to Homestead, Miami next week, but at a wild card track like this, it's kind of like the anti-Talladega with how flat and how tight. It's like baby Pocono with something, I don't know, with a dash of something else. It's like Pocono with a dash of something stupid. Dash of drinking during pregnancy, if you ask me, Caleb. But it's
Jeez.
It is gonna be an incredible race here tonight. Of course, there is the man of the last 10 weeks or so, the number 88 of Zach Rogers. Taking a look at the point standings coming into tonight's race, he has a 191-point lead over Vincenzo Focusato. And basically, once Zach starts the race here tonight, that will likely clinch the championship for him. The most of these guys can get is just getting one race early, as there's Rogers self-spinning out there in the 88 machine. The most these guys can get in a race is 100 points. So if Rogers is over 100 points ahead of Focusato coming out of tonight, he will have officially clinched the championship. And given his provisionals, it's essentially once he starts the race, that'll be the end of the competitive season there for everybody else. But got qualifying underway here for tonight's contest, but
drivers, to your car.
Caleb, what can we really expect from a race like this? And we'll get into the format here in just a moment, but this is going to be a very interesting race, to say the least.
Yeah, definitely, and I'm not sure quite what to expect going in. It's definitely a new track to me. I'm sure a new track to a lot of these guys here tonight, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this race plays out. But yeah, as far as going in, at least to me, it's definitely quite a wild card, and I'm really excited to see how it does end up shaking out.
Well, it's going to be a wild card for many reasons. One of them definitely is going to be the format. As we take a look at the race format for tonight, we're going to be doing dirt heat races at a short track here. We did this at Dover back in Season 6 a couple months ago at the Monster Mile. So basically, we're going to have two 25 heat or two 25 heat races, if we can English properly. The first heat race is going to set the inside row. That should say inside, it says outside, but it's going to set the inside row, and a bonus point will go towards the championship for the winner, and that's all what based on qualifying is for. Whoever these drivers will qualify, the odd drivers will race in heat number 1, and then the even drivers in qualifying will race in heat number 2. It's the same thing for heat 2, except it sets the outside lane, and there's also a bonus point for the winner, of course. The main race, a 75-lap feature here tonight, but we're taking a look at how kooky this track is. It is a deformed Pocono, or maybe I think baby UK Rockingham, deformed baby UK Rockingham would be probably the best way to describe this track. You see the start-finish line not even in the tri-oval. Pit lane is where it should typically be, but it's three very different corners. You've got a wide bend in the tri-oval, then you've got a 90-degree corner in turn 2, and then turn 3 is just all bets are off there. But it's going to be a fun race here tonight. I think we can all agree on that as we take a look at qualifying. No surprise to see Zach Rogers top of the board right now by 0.2 of a second over RJ Bishop. Only 14 cars on the grid so far tonight. No Blake Warren, no Apollo Hyde. Some new faces. Landon Lyle making his season debut. Glad to see James Moore and Connor Edwards back in the fray. As for Rafaela Sorensen, Brendan Whitford, who is sponsoring tonight's race. So a big shout out to Brendan in the number 131 machine. 15 seconds ago in qualifying. It looks like we're going to have two heat races of 7 drivers each at the moment right now, Caleb.
Definitely quite a bit of wild card in terms of the roster as well. Seeing a lot of returning faces. Some passing on this week as well. So definitely ought to make for an interesting race. Like you mentioned, nice to see Lyle here in tonight's race. Jolene Sims' first race back, I believe, since their race victory back in Mid-Ohio, if I do believe. But
I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Yeah.
There's a look at Landon Lyles, number 99 machine, as the drivers will head out of here for happy hour before we'll get things underway for qualifying. And I didn't even get I got GNL up, but I didn't get the actual ticker up on my other monitor. So we're gonna quickly go ahead and do that here in a brief moment. We got 5 minutes to go here in happy hour. I should probably also close up GIMP. That probably would be a great thing to do for the stream help and Discord. Yeah, I should probably close. all the apps on my computer. Of course, those who know that there's a ton of stuff that uses up a lot of memory when NR is active, especially when you're streaming. Didn't really notice a really big frame rate drop with everything open. So hey, maybe that's the secret to having good quality stuff here. But we're gonna open up things over on my end for these heat races to get going here in just a couple of moments. But Zach Rogers, top of the board in qualifying. Right now, it looks like, Jolene Sims was the only car that did not put down a lap. So we'll have Sims qualified in 15th, so we'll have probably 8 cars in Heat 1 and 7 in Heat 2. Looks to be where we're going to be at right now in terms of things. And, well, there's Ike Durbin. His birthday last week at a good race at Pikes Peak. Drew fast in the 4. And there's Brendan Whitford, a new-looking bright number 131 Mountain Dew. I don't know what version of Mountain Dew that is. The Miami Mountain Dew, I guess. The 85 machine of Nicky Conti, right now 3rd in the point standings, rocking the Gabs Tats. Number 85 Ford once again. And the Mobile One machine, RJ Bishop. So we get set here for the end of practice. Rafaela Sorensen, Emmy Schizzato. I don't know why RJ Bishop is running the road course layout right now, but all power to him. And James Moore, rounding out the 15-car field we're going to see here tonight. We're going to have 75-lap feature event here, and this is only a half mile, so we got 75 laps, which is about maybe 39 to 40 miles in terms of just the mileage here tonight. Pit road speed, 35 miles an hour, so speeding down pit lane here could be an issue we could see. We're only going to see maybe about a half second to second fall off, particularly on the right front. Some of these guys were running tire temps about 225, which anything over 225, 250, you're basically going to be Mr. Plow with how tight you're going to be. And fuel shouldn't be a factor here tonight if we run the full 75 lap distance, caution free, which I doubt we will, but you never know, Caleb.
Yeah, definitely, like you were saying, not really expecting much fall off, but just with how this track is configured, with all these tight corners, all these flat corners, these tires are probably really going to heat up quickly, especially if you push the car too hard. So that's probably definitely something we'll have to watch out for, because, yeah, like you said, if those tires do start to get really hot, the car is going to become plow central. So I'll definitely be something to keep an eye on here tonight. And also got fuel as well. Maybe not too much of a headline, but I mean, it might just slip under the radar. I'll have to see how it all ends up playing out, but definitely ought to be interesting to watch.
I mean, the amount of strategies that we'll probably see here tonight, if they're definitely going to be interesting. That's certainly for one thing. But hey, it's a long night. Couple of heat races coming up here in just a couple of moments. And of course, is the second to last race of the season next week at Homestead, Miami. That is bound to be a fantastic race down in South Beach, Caleb. Homestead, doesn't matter what version of the track it is, Homestead always puts on a good product.
Absolutely. Homestead is a awesome track for offline racing and online racing in general. It's always usually a ton of fun. Always had a lot of fun racing at Homestead. So yeah, next week out it should be a very, very fun race at Homestead, Miami. But I got tonight ahead of us. Got the heat races. Really looking forward to the heat races. That definitely ought to be a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, those
They
heat
got the main
races at
feature,
Dover,
so
those heat races at Dover were definitely something else. Zach Rogers in the 88 could potentially clinch the championship for Season 7, but Vincenzo Focusato is looking for something bigger. As we take a look at the cumulative point standings here tonight, Vincenzo essentially has the championship locked up for 2025. With the amount of races the Polo Hide has missed here, it's really caused Focusato to pull away in this championship battle. Nicky Conti could potentially usurp the 100 with a couple of good runs over these next couple of weekends. RJ Bishop going into the back end of the wall there, and yeah, that's pretty much how to describe the Fuel Racing League, but that's going to do it here for Happy Hour, and some of these drivers will come up here
to your cars.
for heat number 1. 25 laps on the docket here for the heat. It will say 75 on our main main ticker here. But that's just, we're going to reset the server after every time. But it'll be Zach Rogers on the inside lane here. He'll be starting in first for heat number 1. Focusato will be starting in second. I believe Ike Durbin will be in fourth. I'm not sure who qualified between Focusato and Durbin. We'll take a look at that right here and right now. It was Landon Lyle, so we're waiting. Actually, no, it was Drew Fast. I'm dyslexic. We're waiting for Drew Fast to come on here. But the entries for heat number 1, Zach Rogers, Vincenzo Focusato, Drew Fast, there's that number 4 machine. Ike Durbin, Emmy Schizzato, Brendan Whitford, Rafael Sorensen.
Start your engines.
And Jelaine Sims, as we're ready to rock and roll for heat number 1. Here for tonight's race. 25 laps in this opening heat. Everybody will get double filed and gridded up here. Rogers and Focusato, row 1. Fast and Durbin in row 2. Should be good to go here. I don't see Jelaine Sims. I believe Jelaine Sims will be in heat number 2 in just a couple of moments as the field will come around here to take the green flag. 25 laps are on the board, and we're underway for the first heat of tonight's race. Rogers gets away cleanly. Here's Drew Fast coming up to second as Focusato. Look at Schizzato. Nearly got up into the 37. Focusato on that outside lane did not get a good jump, and he is going to fall back through the field. Schizzato up to third, Fast to second, and Drew Fast. We saw him in that race last week at Pikes Peak where he really was just abusing his tires in that run. Of course, with how short of a race this is, you know, tire wear is not going. Long-term tire wear is not going to be as big of a factor. So I think Fast sees as this race is going to be his biggest opportunity to try and beat up those tires as much as you can. But if there's one track you don't want to beat your tires all to hell, it's St-Felicien. But right now, lap number 4 of 25 here in heat number 1. Rogers beginning to check out over the other 6 drivers. Oh, and there is Jelaine, Rafaela Sorensen. Got spun around in turn number 1. We'll loop that journey number 42 machine back around. Not the start of the heat you want there for Rafaela Sorensen. She will go all the way to the tail end of the field in 7th. But right now it's Rogers with about a second and a half lead over Drew Fast as they flash back under the stripe already. at lap number 6 of the event. I believe we're on lap 6. We got one more car with some tires screeching right now. But overall, pretty calm to start things off here, Caleb.
Pretty calm, all things considered. An unfortunate break there for Rafael Sorensen, moving that 42 car around. But this is just a heat race, so still have the main event to look forward to. But Zach Rogers in the 88 got fired off really well there on the start. He holds the race lead for now. Drew Fast trying to close in, though, in that Ford machine. Ran a pretty fast lap last time around, an 18.251. So Fast trying to close in, really pushing that Ford car to the limit. And then how about Ike Durbin in the 86 right now, running in the 3rd position with a battle for 4th, getting up between Schizzato and Focusato.
Yeah, Schizzato looks like she might give way to the 37. You can hear, as Focusato got on the inside wall there just a little bit, you can hear how much these tires are being abused. As Drew Fast, he's catching up to Zach Rogers here just a little bit, but definitely through turn 1, you can hear how loud those tires are squealing. We can hear it from all the way in the press box. How much Drew Fast is really punishing those Goodyear Eagles right now. He's got within a second of Rogers with about 15 to go here in heat number 1. Rogers is now caught up to the tail end of the field. Rafaela Sorensen and Brendan Whitford right now on the chopping block for Rogers to put a lap down.
Whoa,
there goes
Fast!
Drew.
Hold
Does a
on to it.
great job of saving that KSDT Camaro. But he's going to lose a ton of time to Zach Rogers. And that is not what you want there for Fast, who's now likely going to be under fire from that 86 machine here in just a couple of moments. Durbin sliding the tires a little bit through 1 and 2 that time by. And how much did that affect the rubber on that 4 machine? I think he might have flat spotted those tires.
Might have done it. Might have just sent it a little too far deep in that corner, but that thing looked like it was on ice. It was as the car was exiting the corner, just absolutely bolted up the racetrack. Luckily, kind of caught the wall there and straightened him out. But, and like you mentioned, lost quite a bit of time there to Zach Rogers in the process. Really tough break there, and I wonder if that might have done his tires in quite a bit there, as trying to fend off that 86 of Ike Durbin for now. Gets into it a little bit with the 131 of Brendan Whitford. He's going to go up the track, though, let Drew Fast by, but here comes Ike Durbin, who is actually right now under fire here from 37 of Focusato.
Yeah, that was the battle we were focusing on here. Is Focusato will now go to 3rd. Ike Durbin looking to get under him. He gets very loose going into 2, able to save that Dark Matter Coffee Mazda. The 2 Millennium Autosport teammates going at it there as Focusato will regain some ground, and there goes Fast. Single car spin in turn number 1. Fast will get that machine back up and orderly. But what was looking to be a promising night in terms of the starting position will go south in a hurry, as Fast will now go all the way down to 7th past Rafaela Sorensen. And that might give the stage 1 win to that number 88 machine with about 8 laps to go in heat number 1. I'm so used to saying stages with the Mission Barbecue Cup Series and now the Loves American Truck Series. There are no stages here in the Fuel Racing League. We might talk. We'll talk to Tyler Stallhood if we can add stage racing. Of course, it would remain green, but it would be some extra bonus points we could figure out after the fact. It would be an interesting storyline for next season.
Make things interesting there.
It's made things interesting over on the Mission Barbecue Cup Series side of things.
Yeah.
A reminder that season finale coming at you this Saturday night. So that'll be fun. Got 9 drivers eligible for the championship. And yeah, we got qualifying that night at 6. The actual race will be at 7. Right now, it's looking to be a battle between Matthew Hubert and Angel Gutierrez on the offline side of things. But right now, with 5 laps to go in heat number 1, here in the online world, Zach Rogers continuing to dominate in that Digital Storm number 88 machine. On a beautiful night sky here in St-Felicien, Quebec. You know, with the amount of the French-Canadian hockey players that I've got on my my local junior team that I cover, you would think, Caleb, that I would pick up enough French to try and do the intro in French, but Alas, French is my brother's tongue. He learned throughout middle and high school. I just barely paid attention in Spanish. If I knew I was going to be covering hockey for a living, and as well as doing this, I'd probably rather take French over Spanish, but I can say in full French tongue that is a beautiful night here in La Belle Provence. As Brendan Woodford will go up into the outside wall. He will go 2 laps down the 131. Sticks high in the air, 2 laps to go in the opening heat of the night, and Zach Rogers looking to cruise to a Heat 1 win. He's got a 5-second lead over Vincenzo Focasato, who's looking for a decent starting spot tonight. White flag is in the air. One more time around the Autodrome St-Felicien for the man who is likely going to win the championship here tonight, as long as he just starts the race, which I think he'll have a pretty decent shot of starting the race.
And we'll start from the best position, too.
Checker flag is in the air, and heat number 1 will go to Zach Rogers in the number 88 machine. And everybody else will rejoin the field. I believe we'll get the server restarted here. Or is everybody else going to pop back out onto the track would be my guess. Or we might get the server reset here. We'll see what it is. But those are your results there. That's the inside lane for race number 1 of tonight's contest. And we are indeed going to get the race restarted, or the server restarted,
Drivers,
I should say.
to your cars.
So we'll go ahead and take down the checkered and white flag graphics. And we'll once again get things started here for heat number 2 of the night, Caleb.
Heat number 1 was quite a bit of fun, and heat number 2 looks like we might have even more competitors here, so this could definitely make things quite interesting.
Yeah, we had 7 competitors in that opening heat as the top down for heat number 1. Zach Rogers, Vincenzo Focasato, Wake Durbin, Emi Schizzato, Drew Fast, Rafaela Sorensen, and Brendan Woodford. That'll make up the inside lane for tonight's race. So Rogers will start on the pole position. Focasato will be 3rd. Ike Durbin will be 5th. Schizzato 7th. Fast will be 8th. Actually, no. Rogers 1st. Focasato 2nd.
Drivers,
Durbin 5th. Schizzato
start your
7th.
engines.
Fast 9th. Rafaela Sorensen will be 11th. And Brendan Woodford will be 13th. But here we go for stage number 2. Rather, heat number 2. I'm going to be doing that all night long. RJ Bishop will lead the field to the green flag in the Mobile 1 number 28 machine. Landon Lyle will be next to him. It'll be Bishop, Lyle, Stallhood, Conti, Togger, Edwards, Moore, and Sims. All racing here in this second heat of tonight's race. Pace car down the pit lane, and Bishop will lead the field to the green flag here, and we're underway in heat number 2. And a much more even start for all of these drivers. There goes Stallhood way up the track. Same thing with Bishop, and here comes Landon Lyle. That Nintendo number 99 Supra a little bit loose on the high lane there for Bishop. And a really entertaining start out of all these drivers in here, and they know that they are going to be able to punish their Goodyear Eagles as much as they can. Stallhood up into the outside fence. That's going to open the door for Conti. Conti not able to jump down to the inside, and Bishop will continue to hold serve, looking for that outside pole and looking for another bonus point. You can see how much the back end is sliding out here on some of these drivers going through these corners. And we're going to do a quick onboard here with Landon Lyle, take you around for one lap around the very flat Autodrome St-Felicien. You're going to watch the entire rear end swinging out. We got one car going around. I believe it was James Moore going around with a 51. He's on the tail end of the pack right now. And looking on the back end of the number 28 of RJ Bishop, seeing how much he's fishtailing going through the corners again. Last thing you want to do is heat up that right front tire. And with how much these guys are squeaking, Connor Edwards nearly getting run over there in the 0-2. Landon Lyle looking for a little bit of a chance there, but last thing you want to do is overdrive the corner. There is more up into the outside wall, and Edwards will run into him. Is that going to be enough for a multi? It is. Caution flag is out for the opening time tonight here. In this second heat, Chevy Camaro pace car back on track here. It's Moore going around for the second time tonight. You saw that at the top of your screen there. Fastest lap right now going to Nicky Conti in the number 85 machine. It's Tyler Stallhood, Jelaine Sims are going to come down the pit lane here. Will give us a good chance to watch and see how these pit stops are going to progress. So Stallhood will get some action there as we're going to move down our lap count out of the way for a brief moment. Trying to move that down so it's nice and order. That should be the ticket there. I believe our lap count is nice and centered on the screen. As Stallhood coming back down the pit lane, try and refill up on fuel. Same thing with James Moore, the number 51. He's going to overshoot his pit box, so he'll have to readjust on that. But a pretty solid race so far here, Caleb, in heat number 2. As we're under caution here, we're going to have quite a few laps under the yellow flag before we'll get things sorted out here for about, I gauge about 15 laps to go in heat number 2. Maybe about 14, depending on where the lights will shut off on the pace car. I think we got maybe 2 more pace laps. Nope. Coming back to the green flag this next time by. Here on lap number 10 of the event will be 15 laps to go in stage number 2 when we come back.
It's been a very fun night of racing here so far, and we're still just in the heat races. Definitely going to be interesting to see what the main event will have in store once we get there, but still definitely have quite an interesting rest of the race here in heat number 2, and definitely be very interesting, especially as that battle for the lead was heating up there right before the caution came out.
Pace car back down the pit lane. We're back to green flag racing. 15 laps to go in heat number 2. Bishop with a really good jump, and Lyle nearly lost the rear end of the 99, and there goes Nicky Conti, spinning back into traffic. Moore does a great job of avoiding the 85, and there goes Stallhood and Togger.
They keep it together, but the caution is out.
Yellow flag is back out for the second time tonight. And that was chaos right from the drop of the green flag there. Conti spinning around, and that really saved Conti's bacon there, with Stallhood and Togger getting into one another. And more laps will go under the caution flag here. And in a word, that was troubling. Right off of the restart, Conti, who was running in third at the time, I believe, spun that 85 car around, and she'll come down the pit lane for 4 fresh Goodyear tires. Hey, you might as well take advantage of that. Well, the field is under the caution. You're going to be towards the tail end of the field anyway, but there we go. Quickie yellow. Now, Conti's got to make this a very fast 4-tire pit stop if she wants to remain on the lead lap here. I don't know. She's got to gun that 85 the second that she gets off the pit lane. She might have enough momentum built up here. I don't know. I do know pace car back down the pit lane. And here we are. Quickie yellow has been cleaned up back to the green flag, and Conti's got to try and catch up to the tail end of these guys. Jelaine Sims now on the outside as Bishop gets tight going through 1. Now Sims under fire from Lyle. Lyle now trying to thunder to the inside of that Mobile 1, number 28. 3 cars all in line for the race lead. 11 laps to go in heat number 1. Conti is caught up to the rear end of the field right now, and Stallhood and Togger continue to battle. Stallhood does a half spin off of turn number 2, able to collect that Adidas number 7 machine. And Landon Lyle, he is doing a whale of a job here tonight. I think Lyle might be one of the dark horses to do
Bishop.
well, and he's going to take advantage of a bobble there from Bishop. RJ into the outside wall, and Landon Lyle will go to the race lead. Maybe not for
Crossover,
long. Here comes the crossover.
crossover.
Bishop
quite.
was looking to make the slide job work there on the back end of that Nintendo number 99. Chevy, Ford,
It's the corner.
Toyota. There
Oh,
goes
there
Jelaine.
goes.
Overbit turn 1 too much. Does a single car spin. Togger and Stallhood will go to the inside of the 06. And that'll be a little bit of a damper for the starting lineup for Jelaine Sims in the 07. As Landon Lyle to the point here.
Stallhood once
Another.
again.
We got a lot of cars. Stallhood nearly LaPage in the field there. Again, this is a very, very technical track to drive here. Nicky Conti is caught back up to the tail end of the field. You know, with everybody beating their tires to hell right now, Conti was able to come down and get fresh rubber. Might have a shot at starting inside the top 5 here if she can get up in time.
Definitely have a shot if put that pedal to the metal. Still got a little bit of time left in this race. Landon Lyle this time by. I believe it's going to be 5 laps to go here in this heat, trying to pull away from RJ Bishop, who just lapped the spinning 51 of James Moore.
Oh, he
James
nearly
Sims
LaPage the
double.
field there. He's going to have to wait until
Boy.
the top end of the field will come back around. Stallhood spinning once again in the 7. And all this is happening in front of Landon Lyle. 4 laps to go in heat number 2. And this is gonna be a very, very chaotic race here tonight, Caleb. With 75 laps, we've already seen 2 cautions here tonight. I think we could have the potential to have maybe 2 or 3. Well, I actually know more than 2 or 3. I think we're probably bound to have about maybe 7 or 8 caution flags. Tugger hard into the outside wall. Nicky Conti up to 4th. And if Sims goes around once again, which is possible, could potentially take the outside of row number 3 in this heat. Sticks high in the air, 2 laps to go in heat number 2. And in a word, I'd say that this heat has been fairly troubling from the get-go. And this outside lane is definitely going to be very interesting to say the least. Final lap in heat number 2. Landon Lyle currently boat racing the field by about 2 1/10 seconds over the 28. And I think Lyle might be a dark horse to challenge that number 88 car for a win here tonight. Up into the outside wall, no harm, no foul. And Landon Lyle will win heat number 2. Will start on the outside pole for tonight's race. A bonus point for Landon Lyle doesn't mean anything. RJ Bishop will go hard into the outside wall, and that's how we'll kick things off here for the end of the heat races here tonight. So bound to be a very, very interesting race to say the least. 15 cars on the card, and that second heat was a little bit more trouble than it was worth, Caleb.
It was definitely quite the heat there, and I definitely have to see if that maybe translates into the main race. Of course, like you said, going to be 3 times the length, going to have the full field size, and this definitely ought to be quite the race from what we have seen in the heat races, but definitely looking forward to seeing how it all plays out. Definitely have to give some major props there to Zach Rogers and Landon Lyle, your two, you said stages, I'm saying duels, your 2 heat race winners from tonight. Definitely have to give them a lot of props there, and have to see if they can translate that momentum here into the main race, but oh boy, this definitely ought to be an interesting one here.
It definitely will. We'll call the dual races the twin 25s, if you will, as looks like we're going to get a server rollback here. Everybody, yeah, going into happy hour, so I think we're going to give one more happy hour session to everybody before we'll get the final result started here. But right now, for qualifying, here's the rub. Zach Rogers will start first on the grid. Landon Lyle will start second. Vincenzo Focusato will start third. R.J. Bishop will start fourth. Ike Durbin rounds out the top five. Jelaine Sims will round out the first three starting rows in sixth. Emmy Schizzato will be seventh. Nikki Conti eighth. Drew Fast will be ninth, and rounding out the top 10 will be Trek Togger 11th. Rafaela Sorensen 12th. Will be Tyler Stallhood 13th. Will be Brendan Whitford 14th. Connor Edwards and James Moore will round out the 15-car card here for tonight's race, and it's going to be a good one. In case you're just tuning in, once again, welcome everybody to tonight's NESRN coverage, the NAPA AutoPro Fall Classic, live from Autodrome St-Felicien, the great province of Quebec, La Belle Province, if you want. Trey Wright and Caleb Rose on the call here. We'll once again go through the race analysis for tonight's A-Main. 15 cars on the grid, 75 laps for about 39 miles. Point of no return will be lap number 71. Only half a mile here at St-Felicien. We could see a little bit more than a second of tire fall off. Fuel is not going to really matter here. Ironically, for the Fuel Racing League, there's a look at how weird this track is. It putting the emphasis in weird. And that's how we're going to roll things off here for 75 laps in the penultimate race of the season for what has been quite a season so far, to say the least, Caleb.
It has been a blast so far here this season in the Fuel Grand National Series. It's been a lot of fun to see how these races have gone and developed. It's been a very, very interesting road here so far, and still got two more races to decide here. Still got two more winners here to crown, and tonight definitely ought to be a very memorial one to put in the history books here for the Fuel Grid National Series.
It definitely will. As we go downstairs,
start your engines.
For the command to fire the engines here, we are ready to go. R.J. Bishop will get the tires warmed up. That's the wrong music there that we're playing. Here we go for the grid up music. Zach Rogers and Landon Lyle will start in row number 1. R.J. Bishop and Vincenzo Focusato will make up row number 2. The pace car will make its way all the way around. Rogers will grid up with the rest of the field, everybody getting into their orderly positions. Here on the racetrack as the field will head towards turn number 3 for 75 laps of chaos here at Autodrome St-Felicien. Sticks are high in the air, 2 races remain, and the green flag is out and away for the main feature here in Quebec.
Boogity, boogity, boogity.
Let's go racing, boys and girls, and Zach Rogers immediately off of the gun with a really good jump over the rest of the field. Durbin a little bit slow on the inside lane there, and Rogers, the pole sitter, will lead lap number 1 of the evening here tonight.
Lyle 99 trying to stay hot on his heels, though.
88 and the 99 nose to tail here. Lyle, the outside pole sitter, trying to be on the back end of the 88, gets in the outside wall off of turn 2 just a little bit. And again, these guys are going to be in the throttle and turning that car all the way to the left all night long. The closest comparison to that type of racing I can think of is old school dirt Langhorne over in Pennsylvania, the big circle over in eastern Pennsylvania, when these guys are just basically turning in the corners. You got the throttle in, mixturing with the brakes. It's a very technical track where tire wear is going to be paramount, but it's the kind of wheelhouse that Zach Rogers is perfect in. And right now, holding off Landon Lyle by a decent amount, but we know how good that Zach Rogers is with conserving his rubber. And he is trying to put on a clinic here tonight. R.J. Bishop going the wrong direction in the 28. Here comes Sims to the inside of that Mobil 1 machine. And Lyle trying to keep to the back end of Rogers coming into tonight. Meanwhile, Focusato not going to win the Season 7 championship, but will win the 2025 cumulative title with a good finish here this evening. You can hear how much these tires are being punished here in the opening stages. Surprised we haven't had a caution just yet. We've had a couple of cars doing some half spins off of turn number 2, I believe. But overall, a pretty clean start, all things considered, based on what we saw in the heats, Caleb.
Yeah, definitely. We're already seeing it here in the early stages. You can just see just how many skid marks are on the track, and I bet most of that is pretty much from these tires just being pushed to the absolute limit. The steering locking, the tires starting to smoke, and these tires are being put to use here. Just the wheels for these guys in general are being put to heavy use tonight, both the steering wheel and I guess the 4 wheels underneath the car. So it's definitely going to be an interesting race here tonight for sure. But Zach Rogers here in the early stages looking really strong, trying to pull away from that 99 of Landon Lyle, who's trying to stay with that 88, not letting him get too far ahead. You got Jelaine Sims there, chilling there in the 3rd position, Bishop in 4th. Focus out of there, rounding out your top 5 here for the time being. Just looking for a solid run here tonight to clinch that overall points championship. But still got a long ways left to go in this race, and anything could happen at this track at any point.
Definitely, anything definitely could happen, as now Rogers in the thick of heavy lap traffic. He got the 0-2 of Connor Edwards, that Bauer Chevrolet down to the inside. He will drive around that Camaro. Brendan Whitford, the proud sponsor of this race, next up on the chopping block. He'll give way to this Digital Storm 88. Landon Lyle trying to traverse his way around lap traffic. James Moore also gets out of the way in the 51, but like you said, Caleb, the amount of tire tracks and skid marks that we have seen, there were probably more skid marks here than in a pair of underpants you'd find in a Taco Bell bathroom. It is crazy how much these guys are skidding around here. It makes sense that we're up in Quebec. It makes sense we're up in Canada. These guys are pretty much racing on ice. Already have one retiree. Rafaela Sorensen has called it an evening after only 9 laps ran in the NAPA AutoPro Fall Classic here tonight. Still caution-free for the most part, but James Moore off playing in the sandbox, and now Stallhood will get spun off of turn number 2. That Adidas machine has been broadside to the field a couple of different times here tonight, trying to slot back in line with the back end of the 85. Right now, only 11 cars on the lead lap, and looking to make it 10 is the 88 in Stallhood. Once again, spinning around, goes to the inside and into the dirt.
Got a couple of laps here. Rogers trying to hold on to that race lead, like you said, trying to fight his way through that traffic. Yeah, we have a caution.
Yellow is out
RJ
on the
Bishop,
speedway.
maybe.
And RJ Bishop, who started in 4th for this race, falling to the back end here with a single car spin. Of course, all incidents will be reviewed. We're going to do the incident reviews prior to the post-race interviews, because the post-race interviews typically take longer than the actual race itself. But RJ Bishop having some issues for the opening caution of the evening in the main race, and Bishop will in the tail end here. I believe Stallhood will be the lucky dog. And we're going to have to see, after only 16 laps, these guys will come down the pit lane to take on some fresh rubber. I think we got a definite good case. These guys coming down already.
Oh, yeah.
Some split. Oh, look like we're going to get split strategy. A couple of drivers that are off of the lead lap are going to stay out here and pit the next time by, but everybody coming down the pit lane as we follow along with the number 88. Stopping perfectly in his pit stall is that Digital Storm 88 machine. And Zach Rogers looking to get his 11th win of 2025, looking to get his 8th win of the season. Ike Durbin, first one out and away. And how about that for Ike? Did he take 2 tires on that stop, Caleb?
Let's go back and check real quick, but I honestly believe he might have. And yep, he did.
So a bold strategy for Durbin. For a 2-tire stop there for that Dark Matter Coffee, number 86 will put him in the race lead. And that will put Rogers down to the lowest position he has been at all night long and into the clutches of his Team Velocity teammate of Jelaine Sims. Now once these two start battling for the race lead, we saw it in Mid-Ohio, Caleb, just how intense that battle was in Lexington. And that teammate-friendly rivalry between Rogers and his protege of Sims could have another opportunity to heat up here tonight in Quebec.
Absolutely. We saw back in Mid-Ohio, these two were absolutely going at it, and it was a respectful but fantastic battle for the lead and for the win that we saw between the teammates Shalane Sims and Zach Rogers. So, yeah, these pair of teammates, they know how to battle, almost like Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon in a way. It's going to be an interesting restart here, to say the least, and it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. Going to re-rack, restack everybody up, and definitely ought to be interesting.
Definitely will be interesting for the race's opening restart of the night. Be Ike Durbin taking the outside lane here. That's a little bit of a bold strategy for Durbin to take the outside. It'll be Durbin will be the control car as we get back to the green flag here. And jumping out like a rocket on that inside lane, the 88 of Rogers, and we're going to see how much that two-tire gamble might hurt the 86. Gets popped into the quarter panel by Lyle. And everybody trying to move to the inside. Nicky Conti turned around. Got a couple of cars spun around in the back of the caution flag is back out on lap number 21 of the evening.
Here we go.
So this is where the procession might begin here, about a third of the way through the race already. That was a good opening 16 laps. And then a caution right after a restart. If you watch the Darlington race all the way back at the opening race of the season, you'll know that some restart chaos is bound to happen, or it has typically happened here in the Fuel Racing League. James Moore will be the free pass driver. Nobody will come down the pit lane this time around, and we'll work on lap number 23 of the event under our second caution flag of the evening here in Quebec. Zach Rogers leading all but 3 laps on the docket so far tonight. Ike Durbin has led 3 under the caution flag after taking 2 tires, and if I'm Ike, I might be regretting that decision just based on how many drivers thundered to the inside of me.
Especially with that going on, I think that pretty much about all that proves that fresh rubber is probably going to be a hot commodity here tonight. So these guys will probably try and jump on whatever chance they can probably get to come to pit lane. But I don't know. We'll have to see how this race progresses. You know how the old saying goes, cautions breed cautions. On our second caution of the race here in just a couple laps time. So have to see if we can maybe get a clean restart here coming up. We'll just have to wait and see how it ends up shaking out.
So it doesn't look like this is going to be a quickie yellow, so we're going to get maybe 1 or 2 more pace laps under the caution flag here. But in case you're just tuning in, once again, welcome everybody to tonight's coverage of the NAPA AutoCare Fall Classic here at Autodrome St-Felicien. Trey Wright and Caleb Rose on the call, about a third of the way through the race here tonight. And here we go. Gonna get this race restarted right at the third of the way mark. Through tonight's race, it'll be Rogers and Sims, the 2 Team Velocity teammates, in row 1. Landon Lyle and Ike Durbin will be in row 2, so Ike's gonna start on the outside lane once again. Fast and Focusado will round out the top 6. Schizzato and Togger will be the top 8, and RJ Bishop looks to get back in the fray there in the number 28 machine. He and Connor Edwards will round out the top 10. We'll see if we get another caution here right off of the restart. Hopefully we won't. Pace car back down the pit lane. And we're back underway here on lap number 26 of the night, and a couple of really good restarts. The back end hanging out there for Sims. Here comes Lyle to the inside of the 06. Trying to steal that race lead away on 4 fresh Goodyear tires. Get a nice race restart here, everybody in line. Focusado trying to make some moves. Drew Fast trying to make this a 4-horse race. But it's Rogers leading by about a quarter of a car length. Lyle not able to snake his way to the inside. Bounces off the outside wall once again. Fast trying to get to the inside to the 06 here. And we've got a pretty good battle for this race lead with 50 laps to go.
Lyle all over the back bumper of Zach Rogers, maybe trying to look for any kind of advantage. Had to check up a little bit there. middle of the corner and a bit swirly there through the final corner is Landon Lyle, but still keeping consistent laps here, staying on the back bumper of that 88 of Zach Rogers. You got Jolene Sims also still trying to hang here with this top two, but under fire from the 4 machine of Drew Fast. You got Focusado there in the 37 a little ways back, having a quiet but clean nighter so far, doing everything he needs to do. But Rogers trying to pull away maybe a little bit. Rogers actually just ran his quickest lap of the race with an 18-1. And 88's been fast all night long and looking to keep gaining momentum as this night goes along, and he continues to lead this race. But like I said earlier, still got a little ways left to go in this race, and anything can still happen. But right now it's looking
Caution
pretty good for
flag back
Rogers
out.
as the caution is back out once again.
Connor Edwards getting turned around here on lap number 30. And for the 3rd time this evening, the yellow flag will fly in Quebec. And it looks like we're going to get probably another set of pit stops here with how aggressive these guys are racing as Landon Lyle gets T-boned by the pace car. You know what? The funniest thing in the world, Caleb, will be if the pace car ever in NR2003 becomes solid. That would be the funniest and worst thing ever if the pace car became a solid object and actually ran over these guys. Something for the patch notes later on. Third caution of the evening here at Autodrome St-Felicien, and hello. Landon Lyle is going to lead a crowd of cars down the pit lane, and we're going to see some of that split strategy we talked about in the pre-race, Caleb. Some drivers electing to take on for fresh Mr. Feelgoods, and some others electing to stay out. No surprise to see Zach Rogers stay out here. RJ Bishop, an accomplished road course racer, knows how to race these races fairly well, but we're going to have to see. These guys only had about 20 laps, or not even 20, about maybe 6 laps of tire wear on those Goodyear Eagles. We're going to have to see just how much that'll come into play. 14 cars still on the pylon. Rafaela Sorensen retired from the race early in that first stint. She is currently being scored 15th and last of the 15-car field. Connor Edwards, the only car that is 1 lap down. Of course, all incidences will be reported on right after the race has reached its conclusion, once we get a replay going, because, of course, with the crashing issues with NR on this current PC, don't want to have any sort of risks of it crashing, especially given the intricate ticker system that we've got. Well, right near the midway point through this race, and we're going to get our 3rd restart of the night. And a different cast of characters at the front end of the field. You've got Bishop in 2nd. Of course, Rogers has been dominant all night long. Durbin is back inside the podium in 3rd, and Tyler Stolhood has found his way up inside 4th. Of course, everybody behind those drivers. And I think Trek Talker also stayed out. Indeed, he did. So top 4, top 5, I should say, all staying out as we're back to the green flag here. 3rd restart of the night. And we're going to have to see how much that tire wear comes into play if we get a nice green flag run here, based off of the amount of people we got in the starters. Landon Lyle gets bodied. He's into the outside wall, able to keep that Toyota nice and straight. Stolhood way off course, spinning in front of the field. Hold on to it. Conti gets turned around to the 60. Did she get a bump from the 60? Right now, we remain green for the time being, and we do. Another really great save out of Tyler Stolhood.
I swear, he does this every week.
It's incredible. We're getting another great save every race we've got here has seen another incredible amount of car control there from Stolhood. Unfortunately, that's going to cost him a ton of spots on the pylon. And that's going to shake up this field. You know, Landon Lyle he did get bodied by Togger on the restart, and he lost quite a bit of a step. Same thing with Sims. And those two right now 3 seconds behind Zach Rogers and the leader. So the tire wear not coming in as much of a factor here on the short run as we thought. But again, we're past the midway point through this race, and if this race for some reason goes caution free, I don't know, that tire wear X factor is going to be something to pay attention to here. Drew Fast still with the fastest lap of the race, somehow ran an 18.18 second lap.
He just bettered that 18.068.
So Drew Fast putting a surname to use here with 35 laps to go. Fast the second we do our final fastest lap moment of the night. Fast running a really good, really fast race there. Same cannot be said for Focusata, who has fallen back ever since that jumble up on the restart. More way off track. He is gonna spin that 51 car around. Nearly gets run over by Conti.
Look out.
And he's in front of the field. He's nearly in front of the field. Get the heck out of the way, James. And that's gonna be a caution. And James Moore is very lucky that that 88 car didn't completely run him over. Under our fourth caution of the evening here with 32 laps to go. And I guarantee you, the closer we get to the end of this race, Caleb, the more cautions we'll probably end up having.
Oh, yeah. Definitely been quite the night so far here from St-Felicien, and like I usually say, as the race goes on, the aggressions ramp up as the patience runs dry, and it definitely boil over quite a bit in the closing stages, especially. So this race definitely far from over, but boy,
And now
so
a whole monkey wrench has just been thrown into this. Durbin, Lyle, Fast, Stallhood, and Whitford all stayed out. Edwards is still 1 lap down, so he was not able to pit. And, well, Zach Rogers is going to be at the back end of this pack right now. He'll be restarting in 6th by the looks of it. And it looks like we're going to get another quickie yellow as the rest of the field will rejoin. It'll be Ike Durbin back out front, with Landon Lyle in 2nd. And actually, we're going to get one more pace lap here to make sure everybody will rejoin the field. Nope, everybody is rejoined, nice and orderly. And this is going to be one hell of a restart, Caleb. You got Durbin and Lyle in row 1, Fast and Whitford in row 2. And Connor Edwards is only still a lap down, but he was not able to get to the tail end of the field. But he's going to be in front of Zach Rogers. This is definitely going to be cinema. Green flag back out in the air, and how much can Rogers try and thunder his way up through the field? Lyle,
3 wide.
3 wide up in here. Rogers biding his time, but Landon Lyle goes to the race lead. Fast trying to drive around. Whitford up into the outside wall. Zach Rogers trying to cut a rug and get up in here. 3rd car in that inside lane. In the 88, gives Stallhood a little bit of a tap. He's going to make it 3 wide. Has to jump on the brakes in turn 2. Skizzato thundering her way through in the 9. And everybody on those fresh rubber trying to make their way through the pack, and Fast trying to hold on and Landon Lyle. He might have the Jaws theme playing here in a couple of moments as Rogers, he's got 28 laps. Try and make things happen.
Tell you what, though, since the restart, that 99 has pulled away quite a bit there from the 4
Stallhood into the runoff area.
2 seconds is the gap.
Oh, Rogers nearly into the quarter panel of Fast. He nearly took out that number 4 car. Oh, this is going to be a really good battle up in here as Fast trying to defend the 88. We've got so much action all over the track. Oh, we are
a bit of a squeeze.
Rogers up to 2nd, and we got to quickly pause
Caution.
here. The caution coming back out as we're turning down the bit rate here a little bit on stream. Yellow flag is out for the 5th time tonight. I believe it was James Moore once again. Well, it didn't take long for Zach Rogers to get back up here. It did not take long at all, Caleb. Under 25 laps to go, and Landon Lyle will surrender the race lead. Some more drivers staying out, but Zach Rogers, the race leader. Tire wear has really come into play for a big factor. Jelaine Sims and Landon Lyle down the pit lane. They're going to be trying to cut their way through the field here on this restart. But this is going to set us up for a little bit of a dash here, Caleb. The likely 21 laps to go when we take the green flag once again. And Zach Rogers, starting from the pole, looking to clinch this championship, wrap it up here tonight, one race early. Edwards will finally get back on the lead lap. Durbin back in the fray in the 86. And how about Schizzato? A couple of thundering moves there from that 9 machine. Some aggressive moves there. And of course, Drew Fast has been very aggressive in this race so far tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if Fast will take the inside lane behind Rogers here coming to the choose. But here we go. Coming to the choose cone. Rogers and Fast will take opposite lanes. Durbin, second car on the inside. Schizzato will be right behind the 4. They'll be coming around here once again. I don't know what happened in the 51, I believe Moore. He's stalled right in front of the pit area. Not sure what the deal is there. Once we get an update on that, we'll relay it down. It'll be 20 laps to go, and then NAPA AutoCare Fall Classic. It has been a classic so far tonight. Rogers and Fast, the class of the field, will see the green flag wave in the air once again, and Landon Lyle immediately darting out of line deep in the field, knowing that he's got a lot of ground to make up.
Peeking outside of 3 wide. We'll go outside of 3 wide as we head into the corner. Whitford loose.
Whitford nearly up into the outside wall, and he's able to hold on to that 131 as Rogers out like a rocket. Fast trying to join him, Schizzato, looking for her best result of the season so far in Focus Auto. And Durbin right now battling for a top 5 spot. Here comes Jelaine Sims in the 06 car. And I really don't think Fast is going to have the tenacity to try to catch up to the 88, but he knows this is essentially the same thing as his heat race. He's trying to use up as much tire wear as possible. Landon Lyle now giving Jelaine Sims a run for her money. Sims nearly spun out of turn 3. Did a really good job of holding on to that Granger Camaro, but she's going to lose a couple of spots here potentially. Fast trying to keep within a realistic distance of that 88, but Zach Rogers running on rails, but the caution is back out. A big stack up as Togger, Bishop, and Edwards got together, and oh Lord. Sixth caution of the evening as James Moore, it was a piston failure for Moore is why he stalled, trying to get back to the pit area. So we've got 13 cars on track, and 13 of them got all twisted up and tangled together for the sixth caution of the evening here at St-Felicien, coming around to 15 laps to go this next time by. And nobody is going to come down the pit lane. This could very well be the final restart. Oh, Bishop. I don't know. Well, RJ, I don't know if you're just taking a gas and go there or what the deal is there. I think Bishop knows that he's going to be going towards the tail end of the field anyway, so you might as well speed on pit road. This is going to be another really good battle as we take a look at the helicopter cam following the cars around the track here. At St-Felicien, fans packing the grandstands here at this track tonight. It'll be 14 laps to go, and when we go back under the green flag, and Caleb, who you got winning this race? I think the pick is pretty obvious so far tonight, but who's your pick to win here? Pick to win, yeah. Who's your pick to win, if I can English properly?
Zach Rogers has dominated the night so far, but I do feel like this restart's going to get pretty chaotic. So honestly, I'm looking at the car, the highest car on the field right now, who has the fresher tires. I'm going to go with that 99 of Landon Lyle.
I'm going to hedge my bets here and say that 88 machine, given how dominant he has been so far tonight. 13 laps to go in Quebec. Green flag back out and away, and Lyle immediately jumps to the offensive, trying to make it 3 wide, slots back down low. Trying to get to the inside of the four.
Fast.
Schizzato tracks up the racetrack. Here comes Lyle. Schizzato nearly getting turned around. Hold on to it, Emmy. A great save out of the 9. Another great save in turn 3.
Oh my goodness.
Talk about Nitro Circus, and there it goes. Schizzato turned around into the wall, and the yellow is back out. Conti turned around in the 85, and in all the chaos, Landon Lyle will get another shot at this race lead for our 7th caution of the night. I need to program more caution slots, caution graphics, Caleb. It is... I don't know why. It's always more than 7 cautions. I think we'll definitely get an 8th. I think we'll definitely get an 8th here. But everybody knowing that all bets are off. And right after that restart, it was utter chaos, to say the very least. Nobody's going to come down the pit lane, and are we going to get a quick yellow here? It does not look like we are. Conti will come down the pit lane. Same thing with Bishop. But, mein Gott.
Oof.
Mein Gott is all I've got to say about this race. 16 laps. That opening 16-lap stint that we had at the beginning of this race, the longest green flag stint we have had so far tonight. We have ran officially a third of this race under the caution flag. We've got enough in the bank for one more caution. Of course, once we reach 5 laps to go, all bets are off. Here we go. This will likely be the final caution and the final restart of the night. If we're able to get 3 laps in, that's a big if, Caleb. Because I don't know if we're going to be able to get 3 laps in.
Yeah, that's a big if, but the thought probably looming in all these guys' heads is this could be for all the marbles right here, so the aggression probably going to be pretty high on this restart. Have to see if we can get to the point of no return, or if we will have one more restart. We'll have to see, but regardless of the fact, this is shaping up to be a crazy finish.
Looks like we're going to do probably just to wean it down to probably one more restart. We're going to get one more pace lap here, but here we are. Lights are off on the pace car. It'll be Rogers and Lyle, the 2 cars of the class of the field, on the front row. Little right behind the 88 has been a fixture of all night so far. Can Little get around the 88 with a bonsai move? Can Jelaine Sims get another win here this season? Can Mike Durbin make some noise in the 86? It'll be 7 laps to go when we take the green flag, and these guys will have enough time for one more caution, probably right off the restart, before we'll call it quits here for 5 laps to go. But right now, pace car back down the pit lane. We're back to green flag racing and spinning the tires on the outside. Was the 99. Here comes Fast, and there goes Rogers. And Fast loose off of the corner. Spins the 4 machine, able to collect it. And now Lyle with a charge on the back end of the 88. 6 laps to go. Do we get a caution here? Or do we remain green for the rest of the night. Sims trying to put a charge on the back end of the 99, but it's Rogers, the dominant driver all night long. We'll see 5 digits displayed from the flag stand. That's it. 5 count of 5 laps to go. No more cautions from here on out. This is the race for the win.
Fast around again in the back off of the final corner.
Fastest race quickly falling apart. Bishop trying to get around Brendan Whitford, but it's a 3-horse race for the win right now. Sims doing a really good job at controlling that 06 car. And I think this battle is on for second. Checking out is Zach Rogers. Sims and Lyle right now, bumper to bumper, coming around to 3 laps to go, this time by. Oh, Lyle's got a rear view mirror full of Jelaine Sims right now. His Team Velocity looking to go 1-2 once again. Sims trying to peek to the inside of Lyle. Landon shuts the door. And right now for Zach Rogers, the only question he's going to be asking is paper or plastic. He looks to have things in the bag right now. Sticks in the air. 2 laps to go. This battle for second heating up pretty fast. Lap and a half to go here up in Quebec. Sims slid the back end of the car nearly around. That might be it for second, but right now, white flag is in the air. One more time around Autodrome St-Felicien for Zach Rogers.
Pretty much just needed to take the green flag here today to clinch the championship. But he's going to clinch the championship all right. He's going to do it in probably the best way possible.
He's going to win the race and the championship. Zach Rogers wins here in Canada. Landon Lyle will hold on to second. Jelaine Sims will be third. And they crash behind them in style. Zach Rogers, with that win, will officially clinch the championship. Sims was not able to make it a 1-2 Team Velocity finish. But nonetheless, we'll get a podium to boot, and with that result, Vincenzo Focusato will officially lock up the 2025 cumulative championship with a 5th place finish here tonight as the Bulldog, Zach Rogers, burns it down here up in Canada. What a race we had here tonight. Rogers getting it done. Holding off the storm at the front end of the field. And officially locks up the championship. You figured after he won those opening, 6 races in a row, Caleb, that he was going to be the odds-on favorite to win the championship. He'll officially lock it up here this evening in St-Felicien, Quebec. But that's going to do it here for the race portion of tonight's broadcast. But coming up here, we'll get the post-race interviews going in just a couple of moments, as well as the, well, first off, we'll review the incidents once we get the replay going, and then we'll get the post-race interviews queued up here. But initial thoughts right at the end of this race, Caleb, what a race we had.
That was definitely quite the race here tonight from St-Felicien. Definitely quite the chaotic one, but in the end, a very fun race here from the Fuel Grand National Series. And like I said pre-race, one that we probably go down in the record books here for the series, and I think it definitely fulfilled on that for sure.
It definitely could. 6 caution flags on the night so far, or 6 caution flags on the night in total. And we'll take a quick look at the results here, or at those incidents. All 6 of them. Starting on lap number 16, it was our longest green flag run of the night. We'll get to it soon. We'll actually go to the replay tab. I'll change that real quick to reflect the accurate series. Trying to get to that opening caution of the evening, and I believe it was RJ Bishop getting a little bit of help at the rear end of the field, and it indeed was. So taking a look at RJ Bishop going around, and yeah, he just got a little bit of a help there from the 4 car. Spun that 28 machine around, and that was all she really wrote for that. But then that was the opening 16 laps of the race, and after that, it was just pretty much complete chaos from end to end here after that opening stint. Getting a quick look here at caution number 2 of the night. And there's Nicky Conti getting a little bit of help there from Tyler Stallhood. Put that 85 car around. Same thing with Brendan Whitford in the 131 machine. Nothing you could really do there for either of those drivers. And that was the second caution of the night. About 10 laps after the fact there, we got our third yellow flag of the evening. I believe it was James Moore that went around in the 51. No, it was, oh yeah, wait, it was Connor Edwards for our third caution flag. So we take a look at it now. Yeah, I think Edwards just got a little bit loose. I guess it was a multi. If it was called by Brendan Whitford, it was a multi. Actually, no. That's why Edwards came back in front of the race leaders, and that's why it was called a yellow flag. So that was incident number 3 of the night. Halfway through our incidents here this evening at a very chaotic race at Autodrome St-Felicien. Here was caution number 4. That was Jelaine Sims. Hooking the 06 machine around. Just a single car spin, but nearly got clipped there by Emi Schizzato. And that was enough to bring out the caution flag for the 4th time, or the 4th time tonight. Actually, we had 7 caution flags, not 6. Caleb, it just showed how crazy this race was, really.
Yeah, that definitely did. Boy.
The caution flag here, reviewing incident number 5. Yeah, and it was Sims got bullied tonight. I didn't realize how much Jelaine Sims got bullied here this evening. There's a look at RJ Bishop giving the 06 a little bit of a love tap, and Tyler Stallhood ran right into that Granger Camaro. Fortunately, Sims was able to get back up to a 3rd place finish in that 06 machine. And then just a handful of laps later was arguably our biggest incident of the night, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it was around here, trying to see. Well, there's the caution flag coming out. Oh yeah, it was Trek Togger getting run over. Yeah, RJ Bishop. He's got a hat trick in terms of running over cars as Bishop drives on the back end. The Suburban Cowgirl number 60 machine turns Togger around, and that was the penultimate yellow flag of the evening. And then just a handful of laps after the fact there was our biggest incident of the night. We're just going to watch this entire sequence with Emi Schizzato. Gets turned around on the 9, rear end, clips the pit wall there. Another great save out of Tyler Stallhood. But that'll do it here for the incidences. And we will go into our post-race show here in just a couple of moments. But Zach Rogers, your winner. We'll hear from Rogers, Landon Lyle, and Jelaine Sims in just a couple of moments. Here after race number 10 of the season. Here for the Fuel Grand National Series. Stick around. We'll be back in just a couple moments. A wild race at the Autodrome St-Felicien has just concluded for race number 10 of the 2025 Fuel Grand National Series season. Season 7 of Fuel Grand National season, I should say. Trey Wright and Caleb Rose calling the action that just ended a couple of moments ago. As we get into our post-race interviews here in just a couple of moments, but a wild race to say the least, Caleb. And we got three really exciting drivers to really talk to here in the post-race.
It's definitely quite the race we saw here tonight, and I'm definitely excited to see what our top 3 finishers will have to say about it.
We'll see what Jelaine Sims
User was moved to your channel.
will have to say about a up and down race here tonight as Jelaine Sims, driver the number 06 machine. You got a copy of us here in the broadcast booth?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, you certainly had an up and down race here right from the get-go in that second heat where you spun around a couple of times, were able to have a decent top 10 start, but then you were pretty much getting bullied on the track but fought your way back to a podium finish. You know, going into the track itself, this is a very technical track. It's basically flat, deformed Pocono. What was your strategy trying to come into tonight knowing how technical this track was going to be?
This was terrifying. I was really scared the whole time, from the start of practice to the end of the race. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't get to practice the track until I got into practice. Until I got into the practice session. And I didn't know what the track was shaped like until I got into practice. So, yeah, it was pretty scary. I think honestly, just by the end of the race is when I just started to barely figure it out. I think I was just trying to watch other people and trying to figure out how they could carry so much speed through the corner. So much just didn't make sense to me, but I learned to use less brake, and just to try and I don't know, in NR the car tends to just turn itself once you just completely lift all the throttle. So I was just trying to work around that. Definitely not as fast as my teammate and some of the others up there, but I got lucky into the top 3.
Well, you're definitely one of the more skilled drivers out there, and of course, being the protege of Zach Rogers here, of course, you guys are going to share notes in the garage area. Of course, he was the much faster of you two, but you're still able to hold on to a good podium finish here tonight. But, you said you had a lot of setbacks in this race. You were involved in 2 cautions, if I'm not mistaken, here tonight. You got punted in the rear end a couple of times, but after those incidents, how are you able to really drive your way back through the field?
Honestly, quite a bit of luck, but also just quite a bit of racing too. Honestly, this track was just pretty racy, and with how I don't know, it's just so odd, and you get people sending it into the corner or driving in a little bit less, and you get a lot of opportunities for runs. So, just going back and forth through the field. Honestly, I was just kind of a part of the roller coaster. I didn't really have any strategy. Just if I got wrecked, then I come into the pit lane. It's just short track racing pretty much. Any opportunity that comes, I'll just kind of take it. And then if I get wrecked, it's no big deal. I did get quite a big bit of front end damage from that one wreck where I nosed into the wall really hard. I feel like I had the engine damage from it. But I mean, it's not a really high speed track, so I think I was okay. But yeah.
Well, you definitely look no worse for wear at the end of that battle there with Landon Lyle, as you guys nearly come to blows a couple of different times there. What do you think you need a little bit over him and able to take that second spot away to get a 1-2 finish?
I needed him to make a mistake. That was it. That was all there was. Or I could just, Landon. I feel like Landon had he's really great too. I'm not sure. I think this may have been his first start of this league. You guys know?
I think this is his first start of the season. I think he's made a couple of different starts over the last couple of seasons. It is definitely his first start of the season. I know that for a fact, though.
I see. Yeah, he's really fast, and I think him and Zach had a lot more just pace over me there. So in my mind, it was just gonna take him making a mistake, and I don't know how many corners this track has, but at the end of the last corner, he'd always, or at least at that last restart, it would get like a little bit. He would get pretty tight, and I was trying to get a run and trying to get to the inside there, but like the more I pushed, the more like my right front was just tearing apart. So that's where it came down to at the end. I just used my right front up way too much. If I had like built a better run coming off the final corner one of those times, I may have gone to the inside, and then we would have battled it out. But I'm content with where I am.
Yeah, and hey, third place, podium finish. Nothing to really complain about. Caleb, you got anything for a third place finisher?
Third place definitely nothing to scoff at there, especially considering the first race back since the race victory a couple weeks back at Mid Ohio. So definitely have to say congratulations on your podium finish here tonight, and a fantastic job out of Velocity Racing as a whole here tonight.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of fun, honestly. I said this like a million times already, but I was so scared going into this race. I knew there was gonna be a lot of yellows, but honestly, like I think is too bad from my perspective. The yellows are pretty quick. And then like when we got to racing, it was honestly felt like a lot of fun on track, even with like this little amount of people. So, even though it's like totally up and down and like all over the place, like I feel good in the car. That wasn't on Zach, by the way. I just suck at driving this track, but even like with all that, I had a ton of fun. So that's all that matters.
Well, speaking of having a ton of fun, can we expect you at Homestead, Miami next week for the finale?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, that's going to be one heck of a show there down in South Beach. But before we let you go, Jelaine, we'll give you the floor to shout out any sponsors. If you want to thank anybody you want on the NESRN airwaves, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you all the time for broadcasting. I know I love watching back on any broadcast, but like any broadcast, any race I do, but you guys are like the most fun. So yeah, I love being in these interviews. I almost forgot that I was gonna have an interview tonight. And also thank you to Zach for making the subs every single week, even when I'm not like able to show up. So just thank you so much. I think at this point he's have wrapped up the championship. But just thanks to everyone here at Fuel for making honestly like a really safe and awesome space to just do NR 2003 racing. So yeah, thank you all.
Well, thank you for driving, and thank you for putting on one whale of a show here tonight. Congratulations, Jelaine, on a third place run, and we'll see you next week down at Homestead, Miami, for what is probably going to be the race of the season down there in South Beach. Congratulations.
Thank you.
User was moved out of your channel.
That was Jelaine Sims, driver, the number 06 Granger Chevy Camaro for Team Velocity Racing, with a third place run here in tonight's contest. And we'll move over to our runner-up finisher,
User was moved to your
driver
channel.
of the number 99 Nintendo Toyota Supra, Landon Lyle. I got a copy of us here in the broadcast booth.
Yes, sir.
Well, you were definitely one of the biggest surprises of the 15-car card here tonight, with a nice runner-up finish, and you were running right at the front of the field pretty much all night long, and not bad for your first start of the season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you would be right. This is my second fuel race I've done. I did Nashville last season in the GNS. I also got second there, I think, to Apollo. But yeah, I just want to show up tonight because I was bored, and I was just like, I've never ran this track before. I want to just see how it is, and I was certainly surprised. It feels like Flemington with New Hampshire Turn 1, but like you halfway drive it. I don't really understand it.
I don't think any of us understood it. We ran damn near 125 laps here with the heat races, and Caleb and I still don't understand this track.
It might have looked interesting. It certainly didn't feel great. Like the setup part was difficult, obviously, but Zach outdid me and everyone else on the track for that part, and he got it done. Congrats to him. But yeah, I tried to pit at some points with 4 tires, 2 tires, to make it try to make something with strategy, try to maybe overtake him. It couldn't work. I did lead a couple laps that one time, but then I decided he's gonna easily pass me. Maybe I should have stayed out. I have no idea. I'm glad I paid it. I still got second, so I mean, at least I didn't get third. But yeah, the right front. Oh my gosh, it got so hot. I mean, I really just could not find like a consistent speed and line, just slow it down and cool it down. But Zach looked like he could just do that at all times of the race. But
Yeah, if there's
really,
one,
yeah.
I was just gonna say, if there's one thing we've always been accustomed to seeing Zach Rogers excel at, it's tire conservation. But go ahead.
Oh yeah, I mean he's been doing this for a while, so obviously I expected him to be the best tonight. I learned a thing or two. Maybe I can. I doubt I will literally ever run this track ever again. I mean, I've ran for 2.5 years now. This is my first time doing this track, so maybe I can learn something for the next time. But for flat short tracks in general, especially one with like really tight corners, I definitely learned a bit. And I just had a lot of fun. I gotta give some props, whoever's idea it was to put this track on the schedule. It actually wasn't that bad. It went pretty well, so I had fun, and thank you guys for broadcast. That's really cool. And yeah, I got really nothing else to say. I just had a lot of fun, and I tried to make some strategy work, and it didn't. And I learned some things about saving.
Yeah, it was a learning experience from everybody, and Brandon Whitford, hats off to Brandon Whitford for choosing this track here tonight, sponsoring the race and everything. But Caleb, you got any final thoughts for a runner-up finisher?
I definitely have to say it was got the surprise seeing you race here tonight, but definitely a very welcome one. Nice to see you here in this race here tonight. You did a fantastic job out there as well, coming home in the end of everything P2, but you ran a fantastic race. Stayed close to Zach Rogers there a lot of the time, and just like I said, just a fantastic performance there out here tonight. So great job out there, my man.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like if we did have like a really, really long run, I do think Zach would have probably been like 10, 15 seconds off the road. I generally could not figure it out long run wise. Like after a couple laps and those restarts we'd have, I toned it down to like, maybe 200 on the right front and like 210. It's like, okay, that's good. But like anything else, it's just like 230, 230, 230. And it just burned it out so quickly. There's just no turn. Like it was all about, throttle management and not going too wide. But, I wish I could have figured it out. I wish we could have had a long run. I'm a humongous fan of short tracks that have long runs, and then people can like cut it in half and like see how that works. But, it's all right. We didn't like for the amount of cautions there were. It was not that bad. Not at all. It was just small mistakes. It happens. It's racing.
Well, fortunately for next season, look to have a lot of short tracks on the card, so hopefully see you back around, and hopefully we'll see you next week as well at Homestead.
I have no idea, but it's Homestead, and I love that track, and specifically the version that I was told is BB. So, yeah, I'll see. I'll probably run it. I mean, if I'm available, I kind of just do some leagues if I'm available, some if I'm not. It really depends. I don't know, but. Yeah, again, I had fun, so I'll probably try to.
Yeah, had fun tonight. He had fun tonight, and we had a ton of fun watching you here up in the broadcast booth. But we'll let you loose here, and congratulations on a runner-up finish. We'll hopefully see you next week.
All right, thank you guys.
User was moved out of your channel.
That was Landon Lyle, driver of the number 99 Nintendo Toyota Supra, finishing second here tonight. And of course, the man of the last hour and a half and the man of the last 10 or so weeks,
User was moved to your channel.
the driver of the number 88 Digital Storm Chevy Camaro for Team Velocity, Zach Rogers. You got a copy of us in the broadcast booth once again, my man?
Yes, sir. What's up, Trey? Caleb?
Well, you are clinching the championship in style tonight. Like Kevin Harvick in 2014, won the race and the NASCAR championship, except it's the Fuel Grid National Championship. But anyway, it's just as important. You are able to have a great race here tonight at a very technical track that going into this, you said during the pre-race that if you were scared of potentially self-spinning a little bit here, then this race potentially might devolve into chaos, and it kind of did at the end, but you were able to weather the storm and get your 8th win of the season and officially lock up the championship a race early.
Yeah, it was actually something I tried in the heat race where I was like, what if I just hit the brake a little earlier for turn 2? And I was still running same lap time, so I just started doing that. We just tapped the brake a little early before turn 2, and then just kind of keep like 33 to 50% throttle in it going into the corner, and car stayed pretty stable doing that in about every corner. So I just did that pretty much the rest of the night, and just slowly worked my way into being a little more comfortable going a little faster into the corner, until so then at the end there, when Landon had like a small, very very small tire advantage. I mean, there really wasn't any fall off tonight. It was really all about having the tires heated up to get the grip you needed. But that allowed me to be a little aggressive there on that restart. There was 7 to go, so I could gap Landon, and get away from the danger of maybe getting dive bombed just a little bit. So, yeah, figure the track out, but I still hope they never come back to this place.
Yeah, we were talking about it with Landon and Jelaine that we were at about 125 laps cumulatively between the heat races and the main race here tonight, and Caleb and I still couldn't figure out how the track was going to be raced here. But again, this is a very technical track, and for Caleb and I, it was a fun track to watch you guys race around. Like, we thought it was going to be a little bit of a more wild card of a track than it was. Of course, once you were able to figure out, keeping your temperatures down, being able to figure out your line, it was a foregone conclusion that you were going to run out of Dodge with this. But, going through the race and going through the motions of practice and qualifying, how did you learn to really adapt to this very technical track? As Landon put it, it's kind of like a hybrid of New Hampshire and Flemington.
Yeah, I don't really remember Flemington too much, but yeah, track's flat. I think turn 2 maybe had the most banking out of them all. That's what made it the sketchiest corner, because if you hit the paint line in turn 2, or if you went into turn 2 too deep, it would just loop on you. Yeah, when I started practicing Monday, I was at a complete loss, because after like 3 laps, it would just get so tight. I just kept moving weight back, moving weight back, moving weight back. Then I moved the weight all the way back. Okay, too much. Move it back forward a little bit. Raise the track bar, which I don't usually do. And eventually just found something that worked. And, at first I was pushing the right front up to like 235, 240 Monday night. Tonight, I don't think I got the right front over 215 once I got in the rhythm. And the right rear was right there. Either at one point in the heat, I told Ike over Whisper, my right rear is 2 degrees hotter than the right front on a track that normally would push the right front at least 10 degrees. If this was New Hampshire, I would have been pushing the right front 10 degrees to be stable. But I figured out the technique with the throttle and the steering wheel, and never had to turn the wheel more than like 40, 45 degrees, and mostly did the turning with the throttle on entry and in the middle of the corner. And all of that cumulative practice, qualifying, all that stuff paid off in the end.
And it definitely did, and everything is going to pay off in the end here for this season with you winning the championship. We'll save your official champion speech for next week at Homestead, but your initial thoughts on really thumping the field here, both tonight and all these races here for Fuel. What are your thoughts on that?
I won't talk about the rest of the weeks, but just as far as tonight went, I felt pretty good after Heat 1. There was a point in Heat 1 where I was like, okay, like I gapped them pretty right away. And then Drew was slowly catching me, but I was like, oh, well, I remember from practice when I was trying to do some Q runs right before Q, that dirty air was awful if you were right behind somebody. So I don't know if Drew just caught the paint line or what, but there was a lap where he was 0.8, he was 8.5, almost 7, and then the next lap he was 2.3, and then he just fell back. So after the first heat, I felt pretty good. And then I was watching the second heat, and I knew that Landon had a ton of speed. And even though Jolene, she spun out, I believe using my setup, because I did send her my setup. There wasn't a lot of communication between us this week, but I did send her what I had built. she did spin, but I sent her some notes after her heat. I knew she would be someone to be slightly concerned about if she got close to me during the race, and just the way all the strategy played out, she was never really right there on my bumper, other than maybe I think 1 or 2 restarts. So yeah, I was mostly just concerned about the 99, just not so much on his long run speed, but just keeping him away from striking distance. Because there was, I think, 1 or 2 laps at one point in the race where he was close enough to maybe put the bumper to me, but he was very courteous in not doing so. So yeah, it's funny when you're the winner and you dominated the track and you had the track figured out the most. And I'm kind of Kyle Bushing it like the car tomorrow by saying this track still sucked. I hated it. It was awful to drive. But once I got in rhythm, it was pretty fun. Employing the techniques that I had to learn to get that speed that I needed to keep the tires on it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Homestead next week. In this current era of fuel, I believe this is my 48th win between Grand National and Sportsman, but counting old fuel, it's 49, and that is counting the exhibition wins, not just points wins. So hoping to go out with a bang next week and get my 50th fuel win. We'll see if we can do it or not. I love the version of Homestead we're going to. I feel like I got a pretty good setup. I was pretty untouchable last year, but we'll do a little work next Monday and see if there's anything we can improve on.
Well, definitely will be fun to see you guys rocking around Homestead. Based on the consensus we've got, I think we might have a pretty big field for that Homestead race. Caleb, you got anything for our winner here tonight, as well as your presumptive champion here for 2025?
Gotta say that was certainly quite the race here tonight, and definitely a very interesting race, all things considered. And I definitely have to give you some major props there for that win. Like I said, that was a chaotic race, and definitely had your fair share of trials and tribulations there. Had a lot of challengers from the likes of Landon Lyle, Jolene Sims drew fast, and had
Who?
quite a couple cautions there.
Who was that last name you mentioned? Sorry, I don't think I caught that.
Well, he caught a rug and he spun around a little bit there, so.
So someone that spun around was challenging me? I don't think that sounds like a challenge.
It was the same thing as last week, so we'll chalk it up to beating the hell out of the tires, man.
And the more names I list, I guess the more impressive it sounds. But hey, all things considered, a great race, great performance out of you tonight, and I guess congratulations on locking up the championship in, like I said, probably the best way possible.
Yeah, you might have to start calling me 5-time now. That's my 5th GNS title.
We'll definitely have to save that nickname in the back pocket for you next week, but we'll give you the floor to shout out anybody you want here on the airwaves, any sponsors you want to thank. Once again, the floor is yours, my man.
Yeah, I got to thank you guys for the broadcast. I know you're doing the best you can every week. It's really tough trying to watch the broadcast with the lag and stuff, but I know you're doing the best you can, working out the kinks, and hopefully you can get a computer, a real desktop computer, because I feel like the all-in-one might be holding you back just a little bit. But for all it's worth, you do a really good job every week, and you put the effort in to make it as good as you can. So looking forward to you getting that upgrade when you can get it, and it'll only make your package better. I want to thank Tyler for putting on the league. League wouldn't be a thing without Tyler. Tyler draws all these guys in here. I certainly don't. I feel like I saw the second post in a week now, and I'm pretty sure it was about me. I will admit I do get mad over some stupid stuff, but hey, it be like that heat of the moment sometimes. Sometimes you're just tired, and sometimes you're just hangry. So it is what it is. I'll try not to do it too much anymore. These guys won't have to worry about me next year too much. So that'll hopefully ease their minds and allow them to have fun. But I'm trying not to be Roger Goodell, that's for sure. You don't want to call me hashtag the No Fun League commissioner everywhere I go. So, but thanks to all the drivers too. Good run for Landon there. I think that's actually the first time I've gotten to race with Landon on a track. I was hoping he would have been running more this year, but or season rather, but glad he was able to make it out tonight, and glad Jolene was able to make it out. Great teammate. It seems like I can give her whatever I come up with, and she'll find a way to adapt to the driving style the setup requires, or that's just her driving style to begin with. I'm not really sure right now, but great job, great challenger, and yeah, Vincenzo gave me his best ever this year, and I think he's pretty much all but locked up the full year championship. So congrats to him on that one, since Apollo did not show up tonight. And I think Vincenzo's name will be at the top of the board in seasons to come, because he's going to give Apollo a run for his money if they keep racing for season championships next year. And last but not least, thank you to my painter and now graphic designer, Cody Lamas. He's done some new channel logos for me that I'm hoping to unveil shortly. And yeah, be on the lookout for that.
We'll definitely have to be on the lookout for that, but congratulations on your 8th win of the season, and the biggest one coming to officially lock up the championship a race early. Congrats once again. We'll see you next week for the season finale at Homestead, Miami.
Heck yeah, brother.
User was moved out of your channel.
That was Zach Rogers, winner of tonight's race at Autodrome St-Felicien. One more final look of the top-down official standings before we'll officially get into our final thoughts here. But Zach Rogers winning the race, leading the most laps here. I believe he led somewhere in the ballpark of 61 laps here tonight. Landon Lyle with a really good second-place run. Jelaine Sims rounding out the podium in third. Ike Durbin and Vincenzo Focasato, 4th and 5th respectively. 6th with RJ Bishop, 7th Tyler Stallhood, 8th Brendan Whitford, 9th Trek Talker. Rounding out the top 10 was Emmy Schizzato, Connor Edwards, and Nicky Conti. The last 2 cars that were on track to finish the race, Conti finishing 16.629 seconds behind Zach Rogers. Drew Fast, first car out of the race, in 13th. James Moore, 14th with an engine failure. And Rafaela Sorensen rounding out the field in 15th place. 45 laps, or 65 laps down, all the way back in 42nd. Caleb, your final thoughts on a wild but wildly entertaining race here tonight at St-Felicien?
That's definitely a good way to put it. A very wildly entertaining race here from St-Felicien. Definitely, like I said, didn't really know what to expect going in, but definitely produced a very, very fun race here tonight for our second to last race of the season, and saw a lot of storylines coming in, saw a lot of storylines tonight come to a close. We got Zach Rogers locking up the championship and just dominating fashion here tonight as well. Like I said, definitely had a bit of competition there, but in the end managed to bring it home for, like he said, his 5th title here in the International Series, which is definitely a very impressive feat. But I think it's a very fun race here tonight from St-Felicien, and definitely looking forward to seeing how it'll all play out next week in the season finale at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Ought to be a lot of fun next week as well to close out what has been a fantastic season here in the Fuel Grade National Series.
It definitely has, and the first full season we've covered here for the Fuel Grand National. Just for Fuel in general, we've done a couple races here and there for Sportsmen. Obviously, they had their finale last week. Congratulations to Dunlop Rod on winning the Sportsman Championship. But wrapping up our first full season of Fuel coverage, all the races being streamed live, and I could not be happier to have 10 races down with 1 to go. But it's going to be a blast. That Homestead race next week is going to be a blast, and that'll be coming at you here later on this week. It'll be in November, on Wednesday, November 5th. Zach Rogers sponsoring the race. The race name is to be determined, but live at 8:55 once again on November 5th for the 11th and final race of the 2025 Fuel Grand National Series season. For season 7, I should say, but hey, the final race of 2025 as well. But that's going to do it here for tonight's race. Congratulations once again to Zach Rogers for winning the NAPA AutoPro Fall Classic at Autodrome St-Felicien. Once again, a big shout out to Brendan Whitford for sponsoring this evening's races and festivities. But on behalf of Caleb Rose, for the Fuel Racing League, and for the North American Sim Racing Network, my name is Trey Wright, saying so long from St-Felicien, Quebec. We'll see you next week down at Homestead, Miami for the final race of the Fuel Grand National Calendar. Have a great evening, folks. We'll see you then.